Hello, brothers and sisters. God bless. Hope all is going well with you. The last video I had up for a very short time, I was surprised how many views it got. I ended up putting it unlisted and then I put it public on my other channel where I went in and I had this conversation with this atheist. And he ended up interrupting and over talking me and employing plan B, which is to abort conversation. And then he threw me out so that we could not finish the conversation. I put that video public on my other channel because that's where typically I have a lot of videos where I deal with atheism and that kind of thing. And I didn't really want to have that on this channel, but I went ahead and just made it public anyways. I just went ahead and made it public, and I'm going ahead and do this video on this channel. I just don't want to get hyper focused on this subject, but I'm just going to demonstrate here the foolishness of atheism. And I've played this clip before sometime in the past. This will also explain the necessity of why we need a revelatory ultimate context to be able to interpret the facts and reality. And without that, you're in darkness to what the nature of reality is, and one can impose on top of reality a faulty interpretation. So I'm going to play the clip and then I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about here.
How do you like that, huh? What are you doing with a rubber gun?
Martin, no!
What?
This is a film. We're not.
God! Lunatic! Can we get off this? This isn't part of the story. Can we get a car? Where did you come from? Jesus!
Brienne, I'm so sorry. I feel like a microbe right now.
You really thought that I was in trouble?
Well, I did.
So maybe you recognize this. This is a clip from Lethal Weapon 3. But this demonstrates a very pertinent point that could be played out in so many different scenarios that without understanding context, you can make an absolute fool of yourself. And this is why the Bible says that the fool has said in their heart there is no God. The fool has said in their heart there is no ultimate revelatory context that can interpret the nature of reality and the facts in it. That's why when we consider Romans 1, it says, professing to be wise, they became fools. When it talks about in their denial of the existence of God, they become utter fools. In the non-acceptance of God's self-disclosure through natural revelation, there is now no place to place and interpret facts to what the nature of reality actually is. So what is the context here in this movie clip? That there is a movie shoot, that it's not a real actual burglary. It looks like this lady is being robbed by gunpoint, but it turns out to be a rubber gun. It turns out to be a movie set. And because the character Briggs doesn't know that this is a movie shoot, he ends up making a fool of himself because he doesn't know the context here. There's a local context that interprets the facts. Because he doesn't know the context, he misinterprets the facts, and then he ends up making a fool of himself. And this is how it's described in Romans 1. That when unbelievers deny the existence of God that is revealed through natural revelation, they become utter fools. It says that in Romans 1, that the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth and unrighteousness. For that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood through the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. For although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were they thankful, but they became futile in their speculations, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools. See, it says, in the denial of God, they became foolish in their speculations, and that is how you can see it is without context. You become foolish in your speculations. You see that Riggs is looking across the street, and I believe that's the character's name. I think it's Riggs or Briggs. I think it's Riggs. But he's looking across the street and he sees this apparent robbery happening, but it's not an actual robbery at all upon examination of a local context. So you can see this demonstration here where Riggs becomes foolish in his speculations about what he thinks is the nature of reality because he doesn't know context. It says they became foolish in their speculations and their foolish hearts were darkened, professing to be wise, they became fools. And you can see how foolish this situation is. He goes running across the street, diving up over this car, landing on this guy who is just an actor along with an actress, and he looks like a fool because he doesn't know context. So when we get in the conversation about ultimate reality, and that was the conversation I was having with that atheist, is what is the ultimate context? What is the outermost contextual layer by which one can place and interpret facts to what the nature of reality actually is? This is how God makes himself a necessity for truth, that all facts to be interpreted have to be in light of a revelatory ultimate context, which is Jesus Christ, that through natural revelation God is revealed. It says that the invisible attributes of God are clearly seen, being understood through the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. In the other video, I went into more of that. If you're interested, you can go to the other video where I go into explain what the invisible attributes of God are clearly seen, being understood through the things that are made. It's talking about life, love, rationality, and personhood. All these things are attributes of God that are preconditions that lie in him. And we, being created in his image, he has bestowed upon us those very attributes. So as a Christian, there's no antithesis in our worldview. There's no contradictory state of affairs. What we believe does not contradict reality. We believe in a God that has life, love, rationality, and personhood. Well, we have life, love, rationality, and personhood. There's preconditions of these things that lie in God, and that's why we possess these things. But from an atheist worldview, they have a lot of things that they cannot explain that they believe in, like life, love, rationality, and personhood, that can come from a state of affairs where there's this impersonal absolute that does not actually provide these things. When you consider the atheist worldview, there's no God in their system. There's no God, which means there's no ultimate personal being that has life, love, rationality. But yet, even in this stark contradiction where atheists believe that their ultimacy of reality has no love, has no life, has no rationality, and has no personhood, somehow along the way they have become to possess these things. And you have to ask yourself a serious question. Does a rock beget a rabbit? Does a rock beget a brain? Does non-life produce life? Or was there an eternal mind, an eternal life, eternal rational source with personhood that has now given us all these things? It says that the eternal power and Godhead is revealed through nature, that for any temporal fact or thing to exist, it has to exist in virtue of some eternal ultimacy. It says that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood through the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Even his eternal power and Godhead. So atheists like to attack Christians for believing in miracles and things like that, like we see in the scripture and stuff like that. But in their worldview, they have this stark contradiction, a state of affairs by which they believe in so many miracles. They believe that life, love, rationality, and personhood came out of nothing, that it basically came out of nothing or it came out of a rock. It came out of a source that did not possess these preconditions according to them. So they believe in a contradictory state of affairs that they cannot explain. And also, now being cut off from a revelatory ultimate context, they cannot interpret one single fact in reality, one single created thing. They cannot have a proper interpretation to it because they don't have ultimate context. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. When Jesus speaks about those that are his, and he says that they will not walk in darkness, but have the light of life, he's speaking about they will have the enlightenment to the true nature of reality and the facts in it, he being the creator and supreme interpreter of all facts, that all things were made through him and for him, and without him nothing was made that was made. So Genesis 1:1, the very first sentence in the Bible, it's very similar to the very first sentence in the Gospel of John. In Genesis 1:1 it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning God, ultimate context, created the heavens and the earth, dependent facts that are interpreted in light of context, which is God. No God, no revelatory ultimate context, no interpretation for dependent facts. The fellow I was having the conversation with, he admitted that you needed context to interpret facts. He said, yes, you need context to interpret facts. So in his worldview, he has no context to interpret the nature of reality. Professing to be wise, he has become a fool. Well, do you believe that facts?
Or I could say,
Do you believe that facts require context?
I would say yes.
Well, do you believe that facts?
Or I could say,
Do you believe that facts require context?
I would say yes.
So he admitted that you need a context to interpret facts, but admittedly, from his own worldview, he has no ultimate context to able to interpret facts to what the true nature of reality is. He's in what the Bible calls darkness. Jesus says, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. They will have the enlightenment to the nature of reality and the facts in it, who the creator is, who the interpreter is of the facts in reality. So in Genesis 1:1, we have, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. John chapter 1, we have it say, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him and for him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In this passage, we have even more clarity to what the ultimate context is by name. In verse 14 of this chapter, it says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and it's speaking about Jesus Christ, the ultimate context, the ultimate creator, sustainer, and interpreter of all dependent facts. And this is how Christ makes himself a necessity for all truth, that you cannot have truth without Christ. You can't have interpretation for one dependent fact. Without an ultimate revelatory context, you are in what the Bible calls darkness. Jesus says, I am the light of the world, the ultimate revelatory context, the creator, sustainer, and interpreter of all facts. I am the light of the world. Without Christ, we would not know ultimate context, which means we could not interpret the true nature of reality. I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. They will have the enlightenment to the true nature of reality. A lot of these atheists will make dumb phrases like, I don't believe in your book. I don't believe in your book. Prove your book to me. Well, I don't believe in the book of their mind. Prove the book of their mind to me. That's my question to them. If you're not going to operate from the book of God's mind, then you're operating from the book of your own mind. The Bible is a collection of propositions and assertions about the nature of God. If you don't accept the book of God's mind, then you're operating from the book of your own mind. What proves that? What demonstrates that to be true? That's my question to these atheists that always attack the scriptures. They'll say, I don't believe your book. I don't accept your book. Prove your book to me. Well, I don't accept the book of their mind. Prove the book of your mind to me. Prove those assertions. Prove those atheistic propositions that are in the book of your mind. Prove the book of your mind to me. Give me evidence that the book of your mind is true. In this clip, look how passionate and certain Riggs was about the situation. Like, he is so certain that he knows what's going on here, that he runs across the street with all his might, with all his energy. He leaps over this car. He's so certain that he understands what's happening here, but he doesn't have context, so he's completely ignorant of the situation. That it's actually a movie set with an actress and an actor, and it's a rubber gun, it's not a real robbery, and this is what I mean. Without context, you cannot interpret facts correctly. And this atheist wanted to have a conversation about the ultimate of reality. Well, what is the ultimacy of reality by which we can now place and interpret facts to be intelligible? At the end of the day here, Riggs ended up looking like a complete and total fool because he did not know the context. And that is how it will be for the unbeliever. The fool has said in their heart, there is no God. See, us as believers, everything that we look at, everything that's in existence, we know that it was created by Jesus Christ. We have revelatory ultimate context that has disclosed that all things were made through him, and for him, without him, nothing was made that was made. So everything we look at is a Jesus Christ created fact. Now, that's not an interpretation that the atheist will accept. They will not accept that interpretation, which means they have an alternative interpretation to the nature of reality. The problem with their interpretation is they're like Riggs in this movie scene. They have no context to appeal to be able to place and interpret facts. They have what is called brute facts. They are brute facts that are mute. They don't speak anything to the nature of what reality actually is. So when I say that everything is a Jesus Christ created fact, I'm not just blowing smoke. I have a revelatory ultimate context that I didn't make up with my own vain imagination and my speculation. I didn't make up the Bible. I didn't make up the 40 different prophets and the 66 books of the Bible. I didn't make up natural revelation around me. All things stand in causal relation to an ultimacy. What is that ultimacy? Well, it's Jesus Christ, a revelatory ultimate context that tells us what the nature of reality is. Without him, you can't know it. And so I look at and interpret everything as a Jesus Christ created fact. Unbelievers do not interpret facts that way. They don't interpret facts to be Jesus Christ created facts. The only problem is they are operating from a position where they don't know what is the ultimate of reality by their own admission. They're operating from an impersonal absolute that does not possess the preconditions of life, love, rationality, and personhood. That is what atheism is, which is to say now they have no interpretation for dependent facts to what the nature of this reality we live in is. And that's the laughable thing about these people. They want to have a conversation about it, but they don't know that they don't have anything in their bag to talk about. It's like completely bankrupt. And without context, they're fools. They're absolute fools, and that's what we see here in this clip. It's a funny clip of Riggs thinking that he understands the nature of reality. He starts making actions, making decisions, making choices, and at the end of the day, all his conclusions, all his assumptions were completely false, and he looked like a complete and total fool. And this is atheism, folks. So I'm going to wrap it up here. If you're interested in that conversation, I did end up making it public on this channel. I have it public on my other channel where I have more topics of atheism and stuff like that. But I'll wrap it up here, brothers and sisters. God bless you. Peace to you, and take care.
How do you like that, huh? What are you doing with a rubber gun?
Martin, no!
What?
This is a film. We're not.
God! This lunatic! Can we get off this? This isn't part of the story. Can we get a car? Where did you come from?
Again, get away.
Jesus!
Brienne, I'm so sorry. I feel like a microbe right now.
You really thought that I was in trouble, though?
Well, I did.